The Tu-160, Western reporting name Blackjack, is the world's largest operational bomber. It is nicknamed the White Swan by the pilots. Dwarfing the similar-looking B-1B Lancer, it is the heaviest combat aircraft ever built. Unlike the B-1B, the Tu-160 bomber remains committed to both low-level penetration, at transonic speeds, and high-level penetration at speeds of about Mach 1.9. Although the aircraft had a fly-by-wire control system, all cockpit displays were conventional analog instruments, with no multifunction or head-up displays. The long-pointed radome houses a terrain-following and attack radar. Below this was a fairing for a forward-looking TV camera used for visual weapon aiming. The development program of the Tupolev Tu-160 was extremely protracted. The prototype first flew in 1981 and the second aircraft was lost in 1987. First aircraft became operational in 1987. Series production was at Kazan and continued until 1992, when President Yeltsin announced that no further strategic bombers would be built. Production totaled 35 Blackjacks, including 2 prototypes. Also, there were some incomplete airframes. This bomber was extremely expensive to build and to maintain. The Tu-160 has a range of 12,300 kilometers. It was the second Soviet bomber after the Tu-95, Western reporting name Bear, that could reach the United States without in-flight refueling. However, the Tu-160 could never replace the aging Tu-95 due to its astonishing price. This bomber is powered by 4 Nk-32 afterburning turbofan engines. Each engine produces 245 knots of thrust in afterburner. So far, the Nk-32 is the largest and most powerful engine ever fitted on a combat aircraft. In 1989, the Tu-160 reached a speed of 200 km per hour for the first time. However, later maximum speed was limited to 2,000 km per hour in order to extend service lives of the engines and airframes. The Blackjack set a total of 44 world records. Even after the aircraft entered service, problems continued to severely restrict operations and production began before a common standard and configuration was agreed. Thus, wingspans, equipment fit, and intake configurations differ from aircraft to aircraft. The Blackjack is armed with Kh-55, Western designation as 15 Kent, cruise missiles and Kh-15, Western designation AS-16 kickback, air-to-surface missiles. The aircraft can carry a total of 12 Kh-55 and up to 24 Kh-15. Both of these missiles can carry nuclear warheads. Missiles are carried in 2 internal weapon bays. The Tu-160 can also carry free-fall bombs with a maximum weight of up to 40 t. These bombers are intended to attack the most important enemy targets. It is claimed that the Tu-160 has reduced radar cross-section, however it is by no means a stealthy aircraft. A total of 19 Tu-160s were delivered to the 184th Guards Heavy Bomber Aviation Regiment at Prilupki, Ukraine, beginning in May 1987. These were left at the Ukrainian base after the breakup of the USSR in 1991 and, after protracted discussions between Ukraine and the Russian Federation, 8 were returned to Russia in 1999. Scrapping of the remaining Tu-160s held in Ukraine began in 1998 under a contract issued by the US government. In 2001, 6 Russian Tupolev Tu-160s were declared operational as air-launched cruise missile carriers under the START Treaty. These were assigned to the 121st Guards Heavy Bomber Aviation Regiment at Engels and were joined in 2001 by the first of the 8 refurbished aircraft formerly held in Ukraine. The Engels Air Force Base, AFB, is Russia's sole operating location for the Tu-160 strategic bombers. By 2007, a total of 14 Tu-160s were stationed at Engels, however it is unknown how many of these bombers were actually combat ready. Perhaps up to a dozen further airframes were nominally serviceable, but Russia had no funds to rework these aircraft. By 2017, a total of 16 bombers were operational with the Russian Air Force, plus 1 more was upgraded to the Tu-160M standard. In 2018 a contract was signed to produce a total of 10 Tu-160M2 newly built bombers. The first newly built bomber made its first flight in 2022. In 2022 satellite images of the Engels Air Base revealed that only 10 Tu-160 series bombers are based on the Engels Air Base. Furthermore, it is unclear if all of them are airworthy.